today, and welcome everybody else that's joining us. And Melba, I guess I'll turn to you. I think we're going to ultimately be turning to Clyde, though.
Yes, we are. And Clyde and Todd. So let's begin, please.
Thank you.
Board, just to begin with, I've given you a handout of our capital projects. This is just for your information to take with you, to give you a visual on the updates on the wings and some of the cafeteria remodels that we've been doing. The staff over at the facility's been extremely busy this summer and at maintenance, and they've been doing a great job, but this is just for your information. The next part is we wanted to talk to you. At the last workshop, we went over our capacity needs, and we presented 4 different plans to you. Some of them were based on current funding, with options as far as what we will have to do, whether or not we get extra revenues over the next 5, 10, 20 years. So with that, Todd's put together a presentation. I'm going to kind of turn it to him, and I'll help fill in as I need to.
Okay. And thank you, Clyde. What's being presented to you tonight, Board, this is an update or revised copy of what I emailed to you on Thursday, it was. This document's comprehensive plan is going to continue to grow. It's a very dynamic document. What it's identifying is our unfunded needs here in Osceola County, followed up with some options available to this board as we start to piece together those unfunded needs with those various options. So I want to just flip the first page for you. The reason why I'm including an executive summary is really for the public's purpose. I just wanted to make sure that the public understands anything I'm sharing with the board, that they have a full comprehensive understanding of what's being presented to this board. The next page of the document here on page 3, that's our 5-year capital outlay plan. I'll actually be addressing the 5-year capital outlay plan later on in the regular board workshop, our board meeting tonight. With that said, I really want to focus on the 2014-15 year of our 5-year capital plan. That really addresses revenue sources from capacity and non-capacity, and the appropriations for those 2 different sources. What's in this document, as you can see, if you focus on the bottom where it says total ending fund balance for the 2014-15 year, we're expected to have about $17.5 million left. Of that capacity, 14.9 is made up from capacity, and non-capacity is $2.6 million. I want to change to the next page in your document. This again outlines, this is not new to us, this is for capacity. It's broken up between capacity and non-capacity. As you can see from capacity sources, the main revenue stream is impact fee revenues. We're ending the current year, we earned about $20 million in impact fees for the 2013-14 year. We're projected for the 2014-15 year to earn right around $17 million. The majority of the money that's appropriated is for debt service and also classroom capacity when funds are available to tackle some of those reconfiguration that's in the middle of your page there. We have some Celebration K-8 space reconfiguration, and we also have a wing addition that we're planning at Harmony High School.
Could I stop you just for a second there?
Sure.
Estimated revenue is impact fees. For the following year, you're anticipating a $6 million reduction.
Correct.
And that is based on?
Our business advisory group makes
Okay.
those recommendations to the school district, who sits on that board, as is made up of some of our board members that represent the real estate market, KUA, and what they're seeing happen here in Osceola County. So we took more of a conservative approach there. They felt comfortable with not being too liberal, I should say, with the growth that we're experiencing in Osceola County, that they feel that that could taper off a little bit. But again, if that does materialize, we will be adjusting this numbers.
Okay.
This is a dynamic working
I
document.
understand. I just wanted to see where you got that number. That would be on the low side of average, correct? Would you?
Well, yeah, I would say that would be about average.
On the low?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just echo, because I do sit on that board, and it is an extremely conservative approach. The Business Advisory Board is aware that it's very conservative. we are all very hopeful for many factors beyond our needs here, but just as a community and what we need to see with economic activity, that number is proven wrong and that it's revised, if not at least once, twice, going upward.
And that's correct. And that group is very helpful in helping us with those projections. The next page of the document, page 5, that's really your non-capacity. You can see the revenues coming in. We have a little bit of PICO coming in this year. We're a little excited about that, $1 million. That's really going to help address some of our maintenance and renovation needs here. We have debt service again. We're paying for that from non-capacity sources. And we have reoccurring projects and expenditures, and those would be transfers to and reimbursements from, really for our maintenance and facilities department. So that makes a majority of our expenditures that we see coming out of from capital sources for non-capacity purposes, with some technology infrastructure in there, school computers, and also school buses. I'm going to move on to the next page of the document. This is staff's best estimate of what we're identifying to be our unfunded needs in the school district. You can see the source on the left-hand side of the column. We have capacity needs, portable needs, comprehensive renovation needs. The requester of that information is right in the column right next to that. So for capacity, it would be our planning department, our facilities and maintenance department, facilities department. What this document is showing, and as you noticed here, that the start is 2015-2016 school year. Our current needs are being addressed in the 5-year capital plan right now. We're projecting out what we think our needs are out in the future from 2015-16 school year to the 2019-20 year. The capacity needs and portable needs are based on a Plan B. That Plan B was submitted to this board in a board workshop setting, I believe, a couple months ago. What we're doing here is this is the start of identifying our needs, and as we work our way through this document, there's options available to us to help pay for those needs. So if I could go to the next page of the document, on page 7, this is a more in-depth or detail of what our capital capacity needs are to build wing additions, space reconfigurations by year, and when those would potentially open. You can see the total need on the bottom right-hand corner is about $220 million. That is based off of the Plan B that was brought forth in that prior workshop. The next.
So this is what we don't have the money for.
Well, these are the things that we do not have the funding for
Okay.
right now, but I want to share with you, I'm glad you stated that, Mr. Wheeler, is that although that we identified in our capital plan that we will have, our fund balance will continue to grow, we're going to use that as an option to pay for some of this unfunded need. So I'll go ahead and move on here.
Wait a minute, our fund balance is gonna grow.
Mhm.
All right, let's go, total ending fund balance, is this on,
Yeah, go back to the capital plan
is
for
that from
me.
page 4?
That would be page 3 of your document.
Page 3, okay, I'm sorry. So, for instance, going to that, the $14.9 million, the $16 million the following year is not a refresh of the 14.9.
No, it's not.
So, when you say we're gonna use part of that to meet our capacity needs, we don't have a whole lot of that to use.
We don't have a lot to use at all.
So,
Yeah, but we have something to use towards
we're
meeting our
talking
unfunded
a
needs.
fraction of a percentage.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Okay.
But I wanted to clarify that, and thank you.
Sure.
Page 7 of your document, I'm sorry, page 8, is your capital portable needs, and again, that's part of your Plan B. We're building, as we build capacity, and during some of the construction of the capacity, we do have to install some portables, and as we build that capacity, we could remove portables in those future years, as you're seeing with the Harmony High School.
I got a question about this.
Sure.
Clyde? it's for
Yes.
you. At Celebration High School, we're not removing those portables there?
Eventually, we may.
Okay,
we may
I was
have
under the
to.
impression that when we open that wing, we were removing those this year.
hoping?
We want to get the wing open, and we'll look at that.
Isn't the wing supposed to be done as of July?
It will be,
month?
yes.
Okay,
Oh, it'll open, yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
The next page of your document, to keep moving us on, we do have an impact fee study analysis that we'll be addressing as part of this meeting. We have all this to do in 1 hour, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. So page 9 of your document, this is existing facilities, comprehensive renovation needs. Again, our maintenance department is identifying what we feel needs to be replaced or a comprehensive
Renovation.
renovation. And we had put where it would open or available for occupancy. The next page of the document, page 10. This is a little bit different layout than what you see, but by year, this is capital HVAC needs. We had to do this by a priority order because we have to identify that all this needs to occur. But if I had to put a priority, what needs to happen now? Priority 1 is your highest priority. So as you can see, we kind of rank those in order. And 6 being the least priority, but it still needs to occur. So we don't have a year to assign that to. Really, it would be nice to have this all done by the 2015-16 year.
Todd, quick question, going back one page to page 9, on the comprehensive renovation needs, the first line is Michigan Avenue, 2015-16, $13 million. Is that, Clyde, is that something you're planning to actually do?
We need to, it's on the plan to do, but that's,
It's non-capacity
that's
dollars.
non-capacity money, and that really makes it tough.
Right.
So, you know, we can't pay impact fees,
Right.
or can't use impact fees for it, so.
Okay.
You know, it's a sprinkled building, it's safe, I mean, it's not anything that we're gonna get shut down on or anything.
Sure.
But it's getting a little long in the tooth, and it needs to be looked at, absolutely.
Thank you.
So to get back to Tim, just for clarification, to Tim's point, that's what we need, in a perfect world, that's what we need to start the work on that school. We don't have that 13 million to start that work, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
That total of that page is about 67 million dollars. Going back to moving on to page 11 of your document, this is capital transportation department needs. We already are addressing some of our transportation needs in the 5-year capital plan. This is unfunded needs that we don't have available resources right now to pay for. Most of our busing is covered in our 5-year capital plan. Some of these 32 units and 25 units of school buses still need to be purchased here, and that's the expected year that we would need those, along with some additional white fleet. If a school bus breaks down, we need the vehicles to go out and repair those vehicles that are on the road. They use this for transporting heavy equipment and such. There is some replacement here for increased fuel storage capacity down below, and the removal and replacement of underground fuel tanks. That's a majority of your expense that you're seeing from your capital transportation department needs. Page 12 of your document. This is your capital information technology needs. We have all of our server rooms need air conditioning units to make sure that we maintain an adequate cooling temperature in there to protect our hardware. That's addressed in here. Also, you have computer support and computer refresh program. And this is really for the students' computers at the schools. We also have some enterprise servers and infrastructure of those switches that we need for data communications. The next page of your document is your capital media and instructional technology needs. And that makes up about $37.1 million.
I got a question about
Yes,
that
sir.
page. And Melba, I don't know who can answer this question. We have had a very robust effort to get smart boards into, if not all, as many classrooms as we can. What is the expected lifespan of that technology, along with the Elmos? And not only what's the expected lifespan, just like we have a laptop refresh program, is there a cyclical refresh program that we have adopted or are considering, or can you speak to that at all?
Is Angela here?
She's right back there.
Angela? And Mel are both here. You wanna come up for a second?
You know, in a perfect world, this stuff lasts forever, but.
But we know it doesn't, you're right.
Actually, in.
Go ahead, Mel.
Sorry.
Cool.
Actually, a part of the plan, the detailed background on what Todd's presenting is a refresh of some of those first smart boards. What the model is Unify 45 and 55 projectors
What
that
year-
we
what
did
year-
8
what
years
year-
ago.
okay, 8 years, okay.
Yeah, so 7 to 8 is on the projector life, 10 or more on the boards, because, I mean, there are boards in Iraq with a 50 caliber hole in them that are still working.
Did you say in
Okay.
Iraq?
Yeah, so they're, you know, the board technology is not an issue, well, I'm just saying, they last forever,
So did you put
okay?
those in?
I know. Smart did, I didn't. But, so a part of that is beginning that refresh for the projectors. There are our single point of most concern, because that's where everything goes.
Okay, so I guess that the question then goes, so an 8-year cycle then?
8 seems to work well, yeah.
And we've got,
8 to 10.
what, 1,500 of those?
Almost well over 3,000.
Over 3,000 of them,
There's
okay.
about 3,400 classrooms.
So we're looking at about 350 of those every year for every year.
Should-
And how much are those apiece roughly?
$600. But now the technology's changing, okay? For instance, in the new wings, the 3 new wings we're putting in now, we're putting in interactive projectors, no smart boards, because you don't need the smart board. You use a marker board, and the projector makes the marker board interactive.
And those cost less or more?
Well, the projectors cost a little more, but the total package is actually about $300 less.
Okay, so we are budgeting, first off, just to replace them based on the number you gave me, be about 180,000, but if we cut
Right.
back $300 out, you're looking about $90,000 to $100,000 a year, is that correct?
And that's what I built into that package.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
sure.
And then moving on, board members, I apologize for the lack of time here. The overall capacity, the overall needs we identified is about $424.9 million. I do want to go to page 14. This is currently what we are doing here in Osceola County. We have the Florida Education Finance Program is the source of our revenue for the general fund. We can use part of that to pay for this, but our operating deficit for the is projected for next year, $5.1 million deficit. The capital outlay, 1.5 millage, the board can levy every year. That would generate about $28 million for the upcoming year. Impact fees, and we're going to be talking about that shortly, is a source of revenues that are assessed on new homes to help build capacity in the school district. We have our charter school partnerships, or our friends, to help us meet capacity needs. And another option to this board is to go for an energy performance contract. That energy savings you get through those retrofits or HVAC replacements have to offset the cost of that debt service payment. I would like to stop now in this document, and we're going to switch focus to the impact fee study. And board, I really, for expedience of time, purpose of time, I ask that we hold off on all of our questions until at the very end. And I'm going to turn it over to Steve Tyndall and Neil Ginn, and they're going to go ahead and do that analysis.
Welcome.
Got my notes.
Can you all hear me? Or actually, I probably don't need that. Can you all hear me like this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We have a brief presentation on the impact fee findings. These are the draft results. And we're just gonna give you a little bit of background and then the methodology and findings of the study. In terms of the background, the last study update was in 2010. Since then, the fee has been indexed but not fully updated. So we've been retained, per legal requirements to bring all the variables to current figures. And the purpose is obviously look at the results and respond to any questions you all may have. Our basic impact fee formula looks at the cost of providing capital facilities, so those are the schools, buses, vehicles, and so on, And from that, we give a credit for any non-impact fee contributions, future contributions from new development toward the same infrastructure, so that we're not double charging. And then that net cost is multiplied by demand, which is measured in terms of student generation rates per unit, per housing unit. And some of the basic steps involves looking at the capital inventory, measuring the service delivery, and then we try to understand and estimate the cost of providing that infrastructure in current dollars. So if we were to build the schools today, what would it cost to the school district? That's our cost. That also represents the investment the community has made up to this point in the school system. And then again, we look at credit component for any taxes and so on that the new development is contributing toward that. And then finally look at the student generation rates. In terms of the findings, the current inventory includes 46 schools that are included in the study. And our service delivery is measured in terms of permanent square footage per student station. And the idea here is to understand the type of schools that the school district is likely to build in the future. So this is consistent with the recent schools like the Neptune or Liberty High School and so on. And we discussed it with your staff to make sure that this is the type of schools they will be building. Currently, like the existing inventory, it has more square footage per student station, but with the school size amendment and the regulations, the school district tried to find a more efficient design. So that's what this measures.
Those are consistent with what we're seeing all over the state, what you're doing?
In terms of facility costs, building costs, we try to include all costs needed to build a school. So it's starting from the architectural fees, site improvement, construction, furniture, fixture, equipment, land, and so on. So this is a lot of numbers, but basically, for each of the elements, we look at either the recent construction the school district did, or any planned bids or they may have. So that's our local data. We supplement that from recently constructed schools from other jurisdictions so that we have a bigger sample until we feel comfortable that this is the cost of the schools. And when we did all that, we came up with about $210 per square foot and about almost $25,000 per student station at the end of this exercise. We then convert that cost per student station to cost per student. And for that, we look at the current service and availability or shortage of capacity. So right now, school district has about 8% more capacity, and that's basically saying you are providing more than one station per student. So that's the achieved capacity, and that's our understanding is the policy of the school district to allow some flexibility to be able to continue to achieve the type of level of service they want.
Let's spend 1 second on that. If you've got to meet capacity demands by location, or you got to bus kids, that's one of the things you have to do that others don't have to do. So if you're averaging almost 100% and nothing's average, you've got to have some way over and some way under. So schools are one of the very few facilities that can't average 100. You have to provide the station. So that 92% or 8% is not a lot of capacity for you not to have kids bust all over the place. So that's a reasonable thing to achieve as far as a planning and a policy to do, or you'll really find yourself with some issues in terms of providing those stations in a reasonable location.
So then basically the student station cost of $24,800 becomes like $26,700 or so because we are adding that 8% cost. And that's the cost per student for the buildings. We then look at any other costs like the transportation and ancillary facilities, which is the maintenance buildings, administrative buildings, and so on. And based on the current inventory, transportation cost per student is about $990, and the ancillary facility cost is about $1,200. So they are relatively minor compared to buildings. For credits, we look at any non-impact fee funding toward capacity projects. And then we also look at any debt service, that outstanding debt service payments, if the bond issue was used to pay some capacity project. So we give credit for both of those. In the case of school districts spending, cash spending, when we were doing the last study, there was a policy decision made that any cash will come from impact fees, and it seems like school district followed that, so we had no cash spending, but there was debt service that's being paid back with ad valorem, millage, so we did give credit for that. And when we did the ad valorem, we made an adjustment for the fact that new homes tend to pay more ad valorem compared to the average home, so that was accounted also. So that generated a credit per student of about 4,000, almost 4,100 for a single-family home. And then when we add all the costs, the total cost of providing school infrastructure is about 29,000, and from that we subtract the $4,000 credit, and we end up about with 25,000 net costs per student. We then look at the student generation rates, and this approach is consistent with the previous study. We basically match the student addresses with the property appraiser database, and then I check against the code, the land use codes, and identify which students are coming from single-family home, multi-family home, mobile home, and so on. In addition, in this study, we were asked to prepare single-family home by size and by bedroom, the generation rates. So, in terms of the total, before the tiering, the generation rates for single family is about 0.4, multifamily and mobile home are around 0.2, so overall average is about 0.35 for the county as per home. So basically, for one student every 3 homes. When we tier it, you'll see that smaller homes are generating fewer students. In the case of bedrooms, when we reach about 5 or more bedrooms, it's starting to decline a little bit. And that kind of probably the retirees and so on, the more wealthy people with large homes without kids being factored in. So the final calculated school impact fee is taking the net cost per student and multiplying that by student generation rate for each of the land uses. So the calculated fee is about $10,000 for single family. That's about a 16% increase, and then $6,000 or so for multifamily, and about, again, almost $6,000 for mobile homes. So depending on the land use, the increase is anywhere from 6% to about 20%. This is at the full calculated fee. When we calculate the fee for the tiers, the smaller homes are increasing a decrease, and then the mid-size and larger home is still seeing an increase. And then we weren't able to tier multifamily and mobile home because of the lack of data. But this may be a more fair or less regressive approach to recognize that smaller homes are not generating as many students. And this similar type of results, you see it if it's tiered by bedroom. And again, the very small 1 to 2 bedroom homes would be charged about 23% less than the current rate, and then the rest would increase. In terms of the comparison, in the report you have a more detailed comparison, but the current fee is about $8,700 for single-family home. It was calculated at about $9,700 when we did the study last time, and then you indexed it down some along the way. So the current calculated fee is about $10,150, and the other jurisdictions range, the adopted fee in other jurisdictions range anywhere from $1,800 to $7,000, and their calculated fee goes all the way up to about $13,000 at 100%. And then in terms of the next steps, our understanding is, of course, we want your input and direction today, and then I think the staff will take it to the county and also the growth management task force, and we'll go from there. That would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Board, any questions at this time that you want to raise?
I have several, but I'll wait to see anybody else has anything to say.
No.
Page 22. And I try and do some homework and look at the numbers. And you have this broke down, elementary, middle, and high school, and total all schools. But going on our website today for our enrollment for the first week of June, it showed that we have a total enrollment of 58,581. This particular document does not include, or it does, but it might be filtered into other sections or diluted down. We have nothing in there for the combination schools, which is 4,266 students. And nothing in there for 1,476 alternate schools, and 7,036 for our charter schools. We have a total enrollment as of 6/6/14 on our website of 53,570 students. This here shows a total of 46,026.
Sure.
Can we explain, I mean, I'm assuming some live out of county, some are in charter, some are,
Yeah, go ahead.
let's,
Yeah, I'll start that.
Okay.
You're looking at two different FTE.
okay?
You're looking at a COFD FTE that's presented in here to build new student stations. That's what the state puts together because they back out charter schools and other alternative program, like virtual schools is all backed out because you don't have to provide a seat now
Right.
in your traditional school setting. So this COFD number is a true occupancy that's actually sitting in a traditional school right now. That's the difference between a COFD number, capital outlay number, and a regular traditional.
If this was a true number, this, on this page,
Mhm.
wouldn't we have our combination schools in here somewhere? Those are our true schools, those
Yeah.
are student stations.
Multi-level
Multis
schools.
are,
Right, they are here.
I'm seeing elementary, middle, and high, I don't see,
Oh, they are split.
Are they counted for by grade, not necessarily by
Right,
grouping?
by grade, yeah,
that's,
yeah,
that's what I'm
sorry.
trying to get at. I try to make sure I,
Yeah.
all my numbers, I don't wanna say, wait a minute, we might be building a
Right.
multi-level, and, sorry, we're not gonna look at any numbers here. 23, page 23. And this is, I guess I'm the one that brought this discussion up. From where I sit, for what I do and for what Tim does, we look at residential housing, not in what it's, the picture it's gonna be built today, what's permitted today, but over the life of that property, who may or may not be living there. Tim knows as well as I do that you could have a 3-bedroom mobile home and a 3-bedroom single-family home and a 3-bedroom townhome, that all over the life of it will have students in it at some point. So I'm trying to determine, you know, when you have your source, Osceola County Property Appraiser, number 2 and number 3, number of students for each residential land use type. This is a dynamic number that's probably changed since this went to print. And it has changed every year. And I'll just give one example in this whole document, anywhere in this whole document, where are we collecting impact fees for the how many students we have that are in our hotel motel? We don't. We don't. So this, you know, I want the board to realize that this number is like a river. It flows, it ebbs, it raises, it goes. You discussed about a new home that may be a 4 or 5 bedroom home that maybe some older people without children built. And I could take any one of you to probably 30, 40 properties that were built just that way, and then the property ended up being in foreclosure, and now there's multifamilies with 12 kids living in it. So that's why I wanted to lean more towards the square foot and the bedroom instead of breaking it up as we have. Anybody else have any comment on that?
Wait, I didn't understand, you want to go to square foot rather than bedrooms, or?
Some combination thereof. I'm just one board member. No
Right.
one board member can dictate. So I'm just trying to lay that out there.
Right.
Because even a mobile home, which you're using as the smallest amount, and I could take you to many mobile homes in the heart of Kissimmee and in Holden Paul, whatever, that have 6 kids in them, right now. And that's why I'm looking at the life of that property. We make this determination today, and that has to stand for several years.
Right.
And I want to make sure that we as a board find the most fair number, whatever we determine that number to be. So I just don't want to do this where, okay, board, we're all going to sit silent, quiet, and motion to approve when we're gone. And then next thing down the road.
But I don't know if you'll give me a quick answer, but this is an average of all homes?
Correct.
And we've been doing it for 25 years, and it does change trends over time. We've got every county, and every county's trending downward and upward, and we look at all that. The thing that we have found, as far as the life of the property, that this average is below the average of new. The new homes have more kids in them than the older homes, but we don't charge the new home the average. We charge the average of all homes. So we're charging, if the average home in this county is 20 years old, from 40 to nothing, we're charging that average. And what we have found is, if you take every home that's 5 years of age, they got more kids in them, but we don't charge that. So we look at 25 years, we look at your trend, we look at all these numbers, we look at a large sample size and say, well, this does affect, we think, the best we can, this is the average of the life of the structure. So we have looked at that, and we hope that this is as close as we can get with all the data we have and all the trend data and the averages. This is not what new homes generate, this is what the average home over 30 years generates, and that's what we hope we've got in here the best we can.
There are several other reports out there. This one, just one page I grabbed, from the Bureau of Economic and Business Research. And I looked at that, and this was produced April 1st, 2012. It has changed slightly from that. And it says the average household size varies considerably among counties in Florida. In 2012, it was the largest in Hardy with 3.12, Henry with 3.09, and Osceola with 2.92.
I've got all 67 of them, and I have that report. And I've trended all those counties for the last 25 years. So I'm very familiar with.
Okay.
with
Well,
those
I'm just
numbers.
hoping the rest of the board.
The other comment I'll make very quickly, and I don't remember what yours is, that, for example, what's going on all over the state is that the average vacancy rate in the state of Florida is 10% higher than it was 10 years ago.
Right.
Vacant homes. So the generation rate now is down a little bit. But we know that it's down somewhat because Florida, for the first time in 48 years I've seen it, Florida lost some population and has some vacant homes. So one thing's happened to, not to your county, but I've got counties that got less students in them today than they had 5 years ago, but they have a much higher vacancy rate. So we have to look at vacancy rate, in the last study, this study, the average of all homes. So I'm just telling you, we do an extensive set in our basic goal. Look what we did last time, look at your vacancy rate, look at all the new numbers, look at the statewide trends, look at this county's trend, and then say, we think this is our best estimate, that home over the next 30 years is gonna be this number, and it's not perfect. But it's absolutely the best we can do with every piece of data we can get our hands on.
On page 26.
Quick question,
Sure.
if I may. With the vacancy rate, what data is used for that? Is that the latest census data?
Census did a 2000 and 2010, and it's amazing the variation by the 67 counties.
Sure.
How some of them, the vacancy rate didn't dip during that 10-year period, and some of them the vacancy rates are double. I went from like 7% to 18% vacancies. I think it was just, I'm starting Brevard County. It's huge, and so it varies for each county, but we look at that to make sure that, we're not over or underestimating, and we're trying to look at every variable we can get our hands on.
I don't want to go down a rabbit trail on that, but my concern with that would be that vacancy rates in Osceola County obviously did increase quite a bit because of all the foreclosures we realized, but those people didn't go away.
Right.
They just went somewhere different, so it looked like they were vacant, but now they're regenerating back into the homes
Right.
again, so.
What I think, and you had one of the highest default rates in the state of Florida, because I did some stuff 3 years ago, but I don't think your vacancy rate's matching that default rate. I'm just, I don't, I have to go.
No, I understand.
I mean,
Not
I'm
yet.
going back into the three appendixes, and she's got them all.
Right.
But for some reason, I don't think your vacancy rate in 2010 hit anywhere near what I thought I was gonna experience with you having one of the highest default rates.
Right.
Right.
So, but we've looked at all that, and again, this is just the best we can do, and our goal is to have an average for the life of whoever pulls a permit, not charge them because they happen to have more students the first 5 years,
Right.
it's the 30-year
And
period.
that's one reason you wanna update the studies that's one of the variables that tends to
3
change
to
from
4
study to
years.
study.
Check that trend, and
Yeah.
if we're right the first time, the trend will change a little bit, shouldn't be a huge number.
Just another quick question, to make sure I understand, the default rate that you're talking about, is that literally just based on default or actually on a full-blown
No,
foreclosure?
We
Because-
got, foreclosure, we got data from, and you gotta be careful with that data, because we get data from chambers and realtors, and default rates are very tough, but we try to track default rates.
And that's a
And the
difficult
reason I
number.
mention that is because, again, default rate is one thing, short sales are a major
Yeah.
product here, and so then that,
You just had a lot more activity than most of a
Right.
couple variables, and it didn't quite match my opinion. I mean, it's just my
like I said, I don't wanna
opinion.
get too much in
Yeah,
the
I
weeds,
know.
but I just wanna understand
Yeah, I
some of the
said, your
methodology and
67
thinking.
counties, what I got as data for default didn't quite match your vacancy rates, and that's all, again, just one set of several variables we use to try to come up with the average.
On page 26, you show the difference for single family, 1 or 2 bedroom, a 3 bedroom, a 4 bedroom, or 5 or more, and then the last two, multifamily condo and a mobile home. Those don't appear to be based on bedroom or square foot.
Right, yeah, we tried to tier them as well, it's just there's not enough data in the property appraiser, the sample size very small. The average that we were getting with that sample size was very different than the overall average we are getting, so it wasn't a representative sample. So
I'm looking at that, and I don't know how many mobile homes will be placed in the county. I looked at, in fact, I even called the county today and asked them, well, how many homes, is there any restriction on home size? And I talked at length with the people there, and there is no restriction, unless it's in a specific HOA or subdivision or something like this on that size. How many 2 or 3 bedroom homes are being built? Not that many. So I look at this and I'm saying, well, wait a minute, this could be I've seen several 4-bedroom mobile homes. I've seen some where they've converted the living room into 3 bedrooms. I've seen it. But we're only collecting, it was 5,973.
that's
That's
the average at
calculated.
least for
That's
the
for
group.
all mobile homes, we don't know about, we can't get the data on the bedrooms.
bedroom count.
Same
Clyde, I
thing.
think, has a comment to make
Well,
too.
I don't want to interrupt Mr. Long. I know he asked several questions, but I would say that as we move forward, kind of the process, and I know Todd laid it out, that we want to take this to the Growth Management Task Force, and we'll bring it back for more of a final, but a big key part of this whole impact fee study is the Home Builders Association, and we want to keep a good relationship over the years with them on this study. And I know they're here, and I didn't know if you wanted to entertain some
I would like to have an
dialogue
open-
with them. And understand this is initial. We're not voting on this tonight. But if they wanted to speak, I just
Yeah, I
thought I
know,
would bring
Joe,
that
and
to you.
I mean, if you guys have a comment you want to make, we'd be glad to hear it, just cognizant of time as
Podium or
well.
whatever. I don't know if they've had an opportunity to look at it or not, but just go right to the podium and whoever wants to.
And then I know Mr. Wheeler has a comment as well.
Thank you for letting me speak today. I'm Nathan Cross. I'm the president of the Greater Orlando Builders Association and a resident of Osceola County. As you are all thinking about the decisions to make, just like you keep a few things in mind. The biggest economic growth factor in Osceola County is building, and that is new home building. Osceola, as you saw in the numbers, has the highest current impact fee, yet we're one of the lowest economic counties for income. As Mr. Long stated, temporary students right now, somewhere around 2,000 students, more than 2,000 students.
Almost 4.
Live in temporary housing, hotels, motels, yet new growth from these numbers looks like is expected to pay for it. I'd like to challenge all of us, challenge the board, challenge staff, challenge us in the building industry to help you find new sources, not just from construction to pay for new schools. We have one of the highest impact fees. It's not because it costs more money to build a school here. It's not because land costs more money here. It's because the other counties and municipalities have found ways to pay for schools outside of impact fees. Love for us to start looking at public-private partnerships. It's kind of a bond in reverse. You team up with a financial company and a contractor, and they go out and they build a facility, find the facility, they maintain the facility, and you buy it back like you would pay for your bond over a course of 20 years. It's a great way. It's been very successful throughout the country. And we'd like to be a part in this as much as you will allow us to be as a major stakeholder in the payers of this fee. Please use us. We have tons of people in our association that can help you with numbers, that can review this. We'd rather be a part of it now than be an argument of it later. So please allow us to continue to be a part of it.
Sure, thank you. We appreciate your
Can we make
coming
that happen?
today. And
Sure,
then
make that happen.
I want you to know as well that I believe this entire board has always been very committed to working, whether it be with the home builders, the realtors, the chambers, or otherwise. So that hasn't changed and won't change.
Thank you.
Mr. Wheeler?
Mr. Cross, thank you for your comments. Relative to that, the only thing I want you to consider as it relates to a public-private partnership is, what do you do when you've got no bonding capacity and you've got a capital lease you can't do? So keep that in mind as it relates to the model that you present. I think it's a great model if somebody can afford it. So with that said, we're always willing to work with you. I've gone through many of these studies. This is the first one I've seen, though, that's got some flexibility as it relates to the square footage of a unit, of a single-family unit, which I think is a good thing. To the Home Builders Association, I'd say we understand that residential construction is a big component of the economy here. I mean, it always has been. I remember 10-plus years ago when we first had I think it was a $9,000 impact fee, one of the first ones. A developer stormed out saying it was going to hurt his development. 6 months later, he said it hasn't hurt him one bit. So there are many sources of revenues in other counties that we don't have. We don't have Disney World here the way they do in Orange County, for instance, which is a great tax source. If you can get them to expand the Magic Kingdom into Osceola County, we'd love to find a way to make that happen. But again, going back to what was presented tonight, I think the square footage element you brought relative to single-family homes is fair and it's different and it makes a lot of sense. And I appreciate what went into this. To Mr. Long's point, you're right. I mean, you're going to have mobile homes with anywhere from, retirees in there who've got nobody to, people moving in and they've got their family, plus they got their nieces and nephews moving in, their cousins, but you're using the best averages that you have, and I appreciate that. So the next question I've got, this goes to the Growth Management Task Force, then goes to the County Commission for approval. What's the timeline for all of this?
It would come back to you as a board.
When do you anticipate it coming back to us?
Schedule?
Well, I
Nothing
mean,
hard.
yeah.
Can I get back to you on that question, Mr. Willer?
And I think it's how we come out of here today. Do you want us to come back in 2 weeks and have another workshop with some more time now that you've had time to get with it? I mean, it's what your blessing is. I mean, how do you want us to address that?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I think it's best to get everything in line first, so if you
Yeah.
have this committee sit down together, include the home builders, sit down and say, what's the best method? I'm glad I made the recommendation or the suggestion that we go by square foot, because it is more fair. Sit down with everybody and say, this is the best
We've
number
got
to come up
to,
with.
I think by the statute, we would have to bring this October 1st to the commissioner.
I think that's
By
what-
them
that was
to
their
have them
goal.
approve it, is that right, Chris?
That's
the goal.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
by
Time,
statute.
but if the rates are going up, it's 3 months before it's actually
There.
implemented. And we go, and that's what it is.
Is that what it is, Jim?
Yeah.
Do you want to comment anything, Joe, right now? Okay. That's, the county's here, too.
But
You'll just approve anything we send.
Again, when we get it to the Board of County Commissioners, it takes, if the rates are going up, it's a 3-month implementation. So if we don't get it in October, November, December, January 1st, roughly, the new rates would go on in. If they're going down, it can go down, it can go immediately.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. So it's not that much of a time crunch.
Sure. So a couple of comments I would make. One, I understand the idea of breaking it out bedroom square footage. I would tell you, though, again, that there is no perfect solution here because, my house has 2 people in it, but has far more square footage than the average home in Osceola County, so we're not necessarily generating anything different than anybody else. So we need to just
You want to borrow
keep
some
that in.
kids?
Yeah.
I do not want to borrow any kids.
You wanna buy a car?
We've already raised ours, and I think that one's illegal, so we can't do that. But going forward, what I'd like to see is I'd like to have input from the home builders. I'd like to have input from the Growth Management Task Force, from the Realtors Association. It may be good to put together a small ad hoc committee with some citizens on there as well to kind of look at this and help bring forth some ideas about what they think other solutions might look like as well. And then we can circle back and have a meeting at that point to explore what the options are. We see what the data's providing for us. Now let's, tap the collective knowledge and resources we have in our community to see what type of ideas we can come up with. And then this board can reconvene in a few weeks, maybe 3 weeks out or so from here, have another conversation. We have some more input to consider. Mr. Wheeler?
You're on the same track I am, but a little bit different. I like the idea of bringing this out to some other stakeholders in the community. What I was gonna suggest is, you're on the Chamber of Commerce Board. You've got a lot of people who are stakeholders in that room from all different economic walks. I don't know if you can get this on an agenda with them or not, but if you can present it there and get their feedback. There's a lot of smart people in that room who've seen the, different variations of this and been through different iterations of this. I don't know if that's a realistic prospect or not with timing, et cetera, but if you can, that's something to consider.
I think it is, but that's the purpose of the Growth Management Task Force with the Chamber, is that they would review it for the Chamber. And
Okay,
then,
I didn't realize it was part of the
yeah,
chamber.
Growth
It is the
Management would
chamber.
bring forth something to
You're
the
much
Chamber
more
board.
plugged in. I didn't know it was part of the chamber.
But you're on the right track.
Sitting from the same side.
I'm proud of you.
I'm good.
You're good. Mr. Soto, do you have anything you want to add on this, as far as process or form or anything? No?
I agree with your recommendation.
Okay.
Bring it back to us.
Melba, Clyde, anything, Todd, that you want to add as far as?
I think the home builder should be at the growth management when that comes forward. I'll let Joe know, and I think that would be a good place to have some good dialogue.
Yeah, and they are normally there. I know Joe and I have sat in there many times together, so. Okay.
Just one question. Do you want to bring this back as a conversation at a workshop?
If there's a decision. I would
Because
say.
after the actual meeting with all the stakeholders, then we would probably want to come back and have a conversation just to share all of this. So that way I can have Pam make arrangements for a workshop, even
Yep.
if it's just an hour prior to our next meeting.
I think
Okay,
it's
so,
good. That's
all right.
Board, are you good? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. This is
Thank you, guys.
good
Thank you for your
presentation.
time and your presentation.
Thank you.
Did you need these back?
No, go ahead.
No, take them.
Go ahead and keep it, Mr. Wheeler.
I got them. Sometimes I like to get this thing.
Yeah, we'll give you a call. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Are we coming back to this, Todd?
We're gonna continue on. Julie, would you like to join me, please, up here?
You're not getting off that easy, Clyde.
I'm like,
No.
Packing up, ready to go.
I can ask more questions if you'd like.
How are you?
Board members, this is Julie Santa Maria. She's our financial advisor for the school district. She's been our FA for 13-some years. Wonderful job she does for the school district, saving us money through many debt issues here. I'm going to continue on with this document now to go on to page 15.
Back to this one?
This one.
Yes,
Julie's bring money tonight? It's not a joke.
No, I know.
She said no.
I didn't answer, yes.
She didn't answer, right, I caught the no, you said no, she didn't answer. I'm still hoping.
as we work through the unfunded needs, we're now looking at those options that we can use to, it's like a puzzle, putting a puzzle together. We have some maintenance and renovation needs, as I shared with you, and HVAC needs. We can maybe consolidate some of those or put them into a plan where we can go out for an energy performance contract. So that's how we're looking at this. Go ahead, sir.
How do you do that if we have to take on debt, but we're at our bonding capacity?
The savings would pay for.
I understand
the
that,
debt
but
service.
so you do it as an operational lease, as an operating lease? I mean, how does,
It
I
doesn't-
know the
it-
savings pay for itself.
It's actually more of a capital lease, but it doesn't count against your debt service capacity. When you enter,
Okay.
we're allowed by state statute
I
to
understand.
enter into a energy performance
And if it's not
contract.
And if there's not
And it
constant
does-
obligation, debt, or liability.
That is correct.
Great.
So-
That's right.
Mhm. And so with those options that we have, we just wanted to touch on, I brought Julie here, if you have any specific questions, just to continue our conversation from the last board workshop meeting that we had. As you can see right now, on page 15, in the middle there, our capital outlay, that's what we're currently levying, about 1.5 mil, and that's based off of our tax roll here. And you can see the various uses of that 1.5 mil. As we work our way across this document, One of the options that we can go out for a school district millage would be for capital projects related, 2-year voter referendum. We don't know if that would meet all of our needs here at the district. There's also the option, as we shared, with the general obligation bond, also referred to as a GO bond. Then we're focusing on sales tax. Sales tax, we're already at 7% here in this county, you know. I just wanted to at least outline for you so you could see how you use that sales tax, those revenues that you're receiving, and how you can appropriate those revenues. There's 2 different types. There's the local government infrastructure sales tax. That's what we are currently doing with our friends at the county. Or we could go on our own and we could issue a half cent on our own. If we did that, we would then be giving up the quarter that we are entitled to right now with our county friends. That's in the interlocal agreement. So I just wanted to just touch on that. Any questions so far on this page?
One quick one, you said on the school capital outlay surtax that we'd go for a half a cent,
We could go for a half a cent.
and we'd automatically lose a quarter of what we're currently getting.
Yes, so the opposite, we're still
We're
Well,
gaining
gain is a quarter.
gaining a quarter.
Yeah.
And that's
Which amounts to
about 10 million.
Yep.
I believe the county, when they were looking at the transportation, for a penny, it was 40,
Yes,
little more.
and that is
For a
correct.
penny.
Clyde, that is correct. The next page of your document, page 16. Some other options that the board brought forth. One, the district school millage 4-year, that's really for the general operating fund. That almost works in conjunction with the capital projects 2-year district school millage, but this one's really specific for your general operating fund. The next one is a state authority level here is high growth districts. We are the statute, 1013.738 is currently outdated. We're looking at revising that and working with our legislative liaison to how we would go about doing that.
Revising it to what?
Right now, the current high growth district statute says that you had to levy 2 mil. Well, right now, we're not even authorized to levy 2 mil. So that has to be changed to say 1.5 mil, or the required maximum. Maximum.
So real quick on that, just board so you know as well, as Todd pointed out, the language is outdated. I've been working with Doug Bruce and Todd and John and Melvin and some others to try to see how we can massage that with the hopes that that may become a legislative priority for us, that we can try to work to bring that forward. So there's some homework and research being done right now to try to help massage that legislation, which is in place and worked well for us in the past and could work well for us again.
Here's
And that won't happen at least till next year.
Yeah, next session. So the goal is to get it revised now. It's already in the works. There's one version of it right now that's already being worked through. And then the conversations will begin with our legislative delegation to see what we can do with that.
Here's the other, to really make it work, you gotta find out what other counties are in the same boat.
Yeah, we're doing all that analysis
That's,
already.
because that's really, it's great that we need it, but, in the overall scheme of things, in Tallahassee, we're Osceola.
Yep.
It's nice to have Osceola plus.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and this conversation came out of course, something that we had all talked about as well, even last year. So we've just kind of been working through that to see what we can do to come up with that. Part of that is identifying who the other districts are that could end up potentially being allies for us with helping with getting the adjustment on that legislation.
The next one on the list is new market tax credits. That doesn't really apply for the school district. That really benefits businesses coming into a community in more or less in more of an impoverished area of that community.
let me ask a question though, couldn't it benefit if we identified an impoverished area and we do a public-private partnership, maybe for a charter or for a public school, with a private entity, then we can take advantage of it, correct?
Just as long as we don't own it.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So that amounts to 20% of the total value of the
About
project?
20 to 30%.
So it can be as high as 30?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. But we've discussed that in more detail, and it's more likely that it would apply for just one school because a large new market.
Right, it's a one-off kind of thing, right.
You're right,
One-off
large new
project,
market tax
right,
credit
right.
deal would be $20 million, so you also have to compete with many other entities for the allocation from the federal government and from the state.
But we need to at least be competing.
Yes, yes. Right.
Any further questions on this page? The next page of the document you've already seen, on page 17, is the debt capacity analysis. I was asked by the board, how much could we go out and issue debt? I worked with Julie on this, and of course it would have to be approved by Baden Council, because there is it's a little sticky, the law on that we could probably go out for a $50 million issue. Now again, but we have to look at it, how do we pay this back? If we went out for a $50 million issue, we paid it over 25 years at 4.5%, conservative estimate, that would cost us about $3 million.
Actually,
Is this
3.5
something-
million.
$3.5 million.
This is something we have to get the horse in front of the cart, which means we have to get the voter approval, correct?
No, not on this.
Not on this one.
So this is one of our options, again. This is
But it
another.
would be
Then how would
using
we pay for it?
$3.5 million that you right now use for other capital purposes for debt service. So
And that's
there'd be no
not-
new revenues.
No new revenues.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Not a-
I want to make sure that I disclose that.
Can I voice my opinion on that right now? or-
I think we understood it.
Yeah, okay.
And that really concludes my presentation.
Okay, so board comments, questions? Yeah, we do. I guess my thing is, and I brought this up at the end of our last meeting, is, and thank you, Todd, for pulling all this together, and thank you for being here to help work through this. Part of our conversations need to continue to be, and I feel like I'm repeating what I've already stated, EFBDs. And then also working with other entities, whether it's private finance, charter schools. Instead of us looking at, okay, automatically increasing taxes on our citizens, increasing millage rates on our property owners, or going out and taking out a large amount of debt that ultimately is going to end up requiring another tax on our citizens as well. I'm just not convinced that we've fully explored all the options that are available to us to make sure that we aren't leaving a stone unturned before we go there. So I know I talked with Clyde a couple weeks back and said I want to make sure we got a meeting put together to try to explore what some options might look like there. Board, if you have options as well, I guess my encouragement to you would be, really think outside of the box. Don't think about, what have we typically done, what have other people done. Let's think, is there something that maybe hasn't been thought of, or is there an opportunity that, maybe we're just unique that we can take advantage of? I think you guys know me well enough to know that, it's going to be really difficult to get me to vote to approve some type of millage rate increase or sales tax increase or anything like that.
I agree.
It's just simply not the right thing to do. Our citizens are struggling enough as it is, and we all pay high enough taxes as it is. So I just think we need to be creative.
This is the working poor also.
Yeah, we need to be creative before we start thinking about how do we adopt something that's in here, so.
A thought I had was, there are several construction companies out there that do excellent job, and have them build us at least an elementary school, and we lease it from them with the option to purchase over X amount of years.
It's a capital lease.
And that saves us. Can't be done?
That's a capital lease, it would be included on your debt capacity analysis.
So essentially, you'd be paying that construction company's cost of finance, which is going to be higher than the school district's because of the school district's very
Purchase.
strong credit
Yeah.
and
Well,
its tax.
throw it out there, put it on the table. If it happens, it happens.
Well, and we don't need to solve it all tonight, but we need to be thinking about what those options are, and just think long and hard and bring some ideas to facilities, to Melba, and let's begin to have some conversations about this. And this is our, if I remember correctly, this is our second workshop on this, and so having a workshop to talk about the same thing that we've talked about at this point is a waste of our time. And I don't mean this one; I mean one coming forward. So unless somebody works creatively to bring some better options to the table, we're running out of options. So.
I would like to note, I appreciate that there are at least, I see 3 candidates for the school board that they're here. I'm thankful they're here because going forward, at least 2 of you will be making that decision. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Good.
Todd, anything else? on your side?
Just to let you know, and those options will be included and updated in this working document.
Okay, good. Melba, anything else?
No, sir.
Clyde, are you good?
I am very
You were
good.
ready to go 10 minutes ago, so I
Yes.
figure you're still good, right?
Well, this was Todd did a
Board,
great
you good?
job.
Okay,
Thanks.
we'll be adjourned from the workshop.
All right.